There is a stone inscription at the entrance of a small village in Japan. It reads, "At 80, you are still young. At 90, if your ancestors invite you to heaven, tell them to wait until you are 100. The people who walk past that sign every morning aren't reading it as poetry. They're living it. The village is called Ogimi. It sits in the subtropical hills of northern Okinawa, Japan. Population just 3,000 people. And the World Health Organization has officially recognized it as the #1 longevity region on the entire planet. Not just another blue zone like Sardinia, Nicoya, Ikaria, or Loma Linda. #1. The Japan Ministry of Health, Labor and Welfare reported that as of September 2025, the country has nearly 100,000 people over the age of 100. And a disproportionate number of them live right here, in this quiet little village, where people garden into their 90s, fish into their 80s, and genuinely do not understand what you mean when you say the word retirement. In this video, we're going to look at exactly why. 6 scientifically backed secrets hiding in plain sight in Ogimi that could change the way you eat, move, connect, and think about the rest of your life. Secret number 1. The 3,000-year-old prescription. Let's start with the dinner table. Because the first thing you notice when you study the people of Ogimi is that they don't eat like the rest of Japan. And they certainly don't eat like the rest of the world. There's a saying in Okinawa that has guided how people here have cooked and eaten for centuries. It's called nuchi gusui, and it translates simply as "food is medicine." Now, before you roll your eyes and think, yes, we've all heard "eat your vegetables," stay with me. Because what the Okinawans mean by this phrase is something much deeper than a reminder to finish your broccoli. They mean that the line between what heals you and what feeds you should not exist at all. The things on your plate are not just fuel. They are your first and most powerful pharmacy. So, what exactly are they eating? The traditional Okinawan diet is about 58 to 60% vegetables. Meat and seafood combined make up barely 1 to 2%. The bulk of their calories comes from something most of us haven't thought much about since Thanksgiving: the sweet potato. Specifically, a deep purple variety packed with antioxidants called anthocyanins at levels higher than blueberries. But the sweet potato is just the beginning. Bitter melon, a gnarly, almost alien-looking vegetable they call goya, has been shown in recent studies to regulate blood sugar about as effectively as pharmaceutical drugs. This humble vegetable is the star ingredient in goya champuru, the national dish of Okinawa. Tofu is to the Okinawan what bread is to the French, a daily staple, eaten in quantities roughly 8 times higher than the average American. They also consume mozuku seaweed regularly, a nutrient-dense sea vegetable packed with fucoidan, a compound linked to immune system support. And then there is turmeric, the golden spice that shows up in their teas, their soups, their everyday cooking without a second thought. The active compound in turmeric, curcumin, has been shown in clinical studies to slow the progression of dementia, reduce chronic inflammation, and activate something researchers call the FOXO3 gene. Scientists have nicknamed it the longevity gene because it helps your cells clean out their own waste and fight the kind of low-level inflammation that sits at the root of almost every age-related disease we know of. The Okinawans weren't reading research papers, they were just cooking the way their grandmothers taught them. And somehow, they got it exactly right. Secret number 2. Hara Hachibu, the 80% rule. Now here's a secret that has nothing to do with what they eat, and everything to do with when they stop. Before every meal, older Okinawans recite a phrase that has been passed down for generations. Hara Hachi Bu. It's a Confucian teaching that simply means, eat until you are 80% full. Not stuffed. Not satisfied in the way we in the West tend to mean satisfied, where you push back from the table and need a moment to recover. 80%. Just enough that you know you've eaten, but light enough that you could still take a walk. Scientists who have studied the oldest Okinawans found something remarkable. Their bodies showed the same physiological markers as people on deliberate caloric restriction programs. Smaller frames, healthier organs, lower rates of virtually every age-related disease, and significantly longer lives. But here's the thing. They were never dieting. They were never counting calories, or stepping on scales, or following a program. They were just following a 4-word phrase they learned as children. 4 words that, repeated before every meal for an entire lifetime, quietly rewired their relationship with food in a way no diet book has ever managed to do. The next time you sit down to eat, try it. Put your fork down a little earlier than usual. It sounds almost too simple to matter. That's exactly why it works. Secret number 3. The Moai, your lifelong social network. Now we get to the secret that surprised me the most. Because when researchers first started studying why the people of Ogimi lived so long, they expected the answers to be physical. Diet, exercise, genetics, and those things matter, as we've seen. But what they didn't expect to find was that one of the most powerful predictors of longevity in this village had nothing to do with what people ate or how they moved. It had to do with who they sat next to. In Okinawa, there is a tradition called the Moai. The word originally referred to a system of financial support, a way for villagers to pool their resources for the common good. But over centuries, it evolved into something far more valuable than money. A Moai is essentially a small, tight-knit group of friends, usually formed in childhood, who commit to supporting each other for life. Not just for a season, not just through a shared hobby or a workplace. For life. Some of these groups have been meeting regularly for over 90 years. Think about that. 90 years of the same people showing up for each other. Researcher Dr. Makoto Suzuki, who leads the Okinawa Centenarian Study, the longest-running centenarian study in the world, describes the Moai as providing something he calls liberating security, the deep, bone-level comfort of knowing that no matter what happens, someone will be there. And science backs this up with a number that should stop you cold. Loneliness, according to research, can shorten your life by up to 8 years. 8 years, not smoking, not obesity, loneliness. But every happy friend you add to your close social circle increases your own happiness by 15%. The Okinawans didn't need a study to tell them this. They built the solution into their culture before the researchers even knew there was a problem. And speaking of community, if you are enjoying this video, please take a second to like it and subscribe to the channel. It truly keeps this going and helps me bring you more quality content just like this. And if there is a Japanese tradition or philosophy you would love to see explored in a future video, write it in the comments below. Secret number 4. Ikigai, your reason to get up. Here is a fact that will make you think twice about the word retirement. In the native dialect of Okinawa, that word does not exist. There is no translation for it. No concept of the day you stop, hand in your badge, and wait out the clock. Instead, there is ikigai. It's a word that has no perfect English equivalent, but the closest translation is something like your reason for being. The thing that makes you want to get out of bed in the morning. Not your job title, not your role, your reason. And researchers who studied men in Okinawa found that having a strong sense of ikigai was associated with a 72% reduction in strokes. a 44% reduction in cardiovascular disease, and a 38% reduction in death from other causes, including cancer. Those are not small numbers. Those are numbers that would make a pharmaceutical company rich if they could put them in a pill. But Ikigai isn't a pill. It isn't a program. It's a question. And the question is simply this: what is it that only you can bring to the world? It doesn't have to be grand. In Ogimi, a woman's Ikigai might be her garden. A man's might be the fishing boat he's taken out every morning for 50 years. It might be teaching the younger generation how to cook a traditional dish, or tending to a neighbor who can't tend to themselves. The size of the purpose doesn't matter. The research is clear that what matters is having one. Scientists believe that a strong sense of Ikigai acts as a buffer against stress, reducing the chronic inflammation linked to Alzheimer's, arthritis, and stroke. And on average, people with a clear sense of purpose live approximately 8 additional years compared to those who feel adrift. 8 years. The same number we lost to loneliness. Curious, isn't it, how the things that seem the least medical turn out to matter the most? Secret number 5. Movement without the gym. If you ask an elder in Ogimi whether they exercise, they will probably look at you with gentle confusion. Not because they don't move, they move constantly, but because the idea of separating movement from life, of driving to a building to walk on a machine and then driving home again, is a concept that simply does not compute in this village. The people of Ogimi Garden, they walk to their neighbors, they fish, they dance at community gatherings. They do traditional craft work that keeps their hands nimble and their minds engaged. Movement here is not a scheduled event. It is the texture of the day itself. And research conducted in Ogimi confirmed what you might suspect. The healthiest, longest-living residents were not the ones who had followed any formal fitness program. They were the ones who had maintained regular physical activity woven into their daily habits for decades. Walking, tending a garden, climbing the gentle hills of the village just to visit a friend. A study on sleep and health in the village found that the group with the best overall health outcomes walked regularly, took short afternoon naps, and maintained consistent daily rhythms for 10 years or more. Not 10 weeks. 10 years. There is something quietly radical about that. Because in the West we tend to think about health in sprints. A 30-day challenge, a New Year's resolution, a diet we'll start on Monday. The people of Ogimi think in decades. They don't ask what will make me feel better this week. They ask what can I do every single day for the rest of my life that my body will thank me for. The answer, it turns out, is remarkably undramatic. Go outside. Move your body. Do something with your hands. Repeat tomorrow. Secret number 6. Yuimaru, the art of mutual help. The 6th secret is perhaps the hardest one to package into a lifestyle tip, because it isn't really a habit you adopt. It's a value you inhabit. In Okinawa, there is a concept called yuimaru. It translates roughly as mutual help, the understanding that the community exists as a living, breathing organism, and that every person in it has both the right to receive support and the responsibility to give it. In Ogimi, this isn't charity. It isn't volunteerism in the way we tend to think of it. Something you do on a Saturday when you have extra time. It is simply how life works. Neighbors check on neighbors. Elders are not tucked away in facilities and visited occasionally. They are present, visible, valued, woven into the daily fabric of the village. And science, once again, confirms what the Okinawans seem to have always known. Strong social bonds are directly associated with lower levels of stress hormones, better mental health, and significantly reduced risk of chronic disease. But here is what the research also found, and this part tends to surprise people. The benefits of Uimaru flow in both directions. The person doing the helping gains nearly as much as the person being helped. Giving support, it turns out, is one of the most powerful anti-aging behaviors a human being can engage in. There is something almost poetic about that. A culture that built its entire social structure around looking after one another accidentally stumbled onto one of the most effective health interventions ever documented. Or perhaps it wasn't accidental at all. Perhaps they simply understood, long before the scientists arrived with their clipboards, that a person who feels needed never really gets old. So, there you have it. 6 secrets from a village of 3,000 people on a subtropical island that the World Health Organization had to officially designate as the healthiest place on Earth, because no other explanation fit the data. Food as medicine. Eating until you are 80% full. A lifelong circle of loyal friends. A reason to get out of bed every morning. Movement woven into the rhythm of daily life. And a community that looks after its own. None of these things require a prescription. None of them require a gym membership, a supplement stack, or a flight to Japan. What they require is a shift, a quiet but fundamental rethinking of what a good day actually looks like. The people of Ogimi are not living longer because they are trying to live longer. They are living longer because they have built a life worth living. And maybe that is the real secret hiding underneath all the others. Not the turmeric, not the bitter melon, not even the moai. It's the fact that every morning in that village, people wake up knowing exactly why they are here, and exactly who needs them. If you can say the same thing about your own morning, you are already practicing the Japanese method. And if you can't say it yet, well, now you know where to start. If this video gave you something to think about, share it with someone who needs it. And I'll see you in the next one.